Who is the entity? If you watched my previous video, I kind of went into some basic information about it, but I thought I would do a few videos where I'm talking within a small amount of time about different players and different individuals, which I believe will become important in the coming years, maybe even year. So let's start off with, who is Chris Bledsoe? Chris Bledsoe is a very nice guy with a very nice family, and he was going through a very tough time where he was a wealthy house builder and went to poverty after the rug fell out underneath him. And he found himself desperate in bad health with Crohn's disease, suffering greatly. And he was on a fishing excursion one night, and he found himself walking into the woods, and in the woods he saw 3 glowing orbs, and he had missing time. His son went and looked for him because his dad disappeared for a while. His son also disappeared, missing time. Chris found himself coming back to the camp, asking where his son was. They were like, "Where have you been? You've been gone for hours." And he was like, "Well, where's my son? Where's Junior?" And he went out and looked for Chris where he had come from, and found Chris in a upset state, asking, what happened to Chris? Like, where had you gone, Dad? And it was a very traumatic situation for them. The story continues on their way home, but I won't go into that right now. I just really want to touch upon the fact that this guy is an experiencer that had a otherworldly encounter. And since then, his Crohn's disease was healed, and he found himself talking with an entity that he calls the Lady. And the Lady, who is very much like the sightings from Fatima, which they attribute to Mary, the sightings at Zaytun, which they attribute to Mary, where tons of people saw this Mary-like figure there. And she's never really identified herself as Mary, but that's what everybody automatically attributes her as. Everybody assumes that she's Mary because she fits the definition of Mary, this glowing, beautiful lady. But this is all by design. This has been a long game that these entities have been working on. And I'll explain why. So if you look at the start of Islam is started by seeing an angel. Catholicism was started because Constantine had a vision, had a godly encounter. Mormonism, godly encounter, angelic encounter. So you have appearances by a glowing lady, which fit the Catholic's version of Mary. Mary is called the Queen of Heaven, which is exactly the same nickname as goddesses of old. So the ancient goddesses of the time, like Hathor, which this entity says it is, but it has gone by many names, and it's gone by so many names across history, all fertility and love goddesses. But there's lots of different sides to this goddess. I personally believe that most of these goddesses are all the same entities, and these entities can shape change and pretty much look how they want to appear to any group of people. And so it wouldn't be surprising if, this same entity appeared in so many different ways to these people in the past. But anyway, so Chris has become like the Moses of today. The guy that basically is the voice in the wilderness, doing the bidding of what he thinks is God's will, because he believes that this creature is the Holy Spirit, or is the manifestation of the divine feminine, the manifestation of love, which is exactly what Isis was, which is another goddess that Hathor is tied in with, and Aphrodite, another name for a goddess of love. These are all the same entity. And so he's important. And why is he important? Because the FBI, the CIA, the intelligence agencies, governments in like the US government and around the world take him seriously. He's been visited and vouched for by very important people in the UFO community and the paranormal research world, government people, NASA people, CIA people. I mean, it's just unbelievable. If you read his book, he'll tell you that in the book that he is partly responsible from stopping Pope Francis there, from getting assassinated in Philadelphia. And that he was told by these entities via spirit radio, ghostly audio recordings, which is, again, that's not something you're going to hear from angels on. This is demonic activity. That this, when you hear these spirit boxes, that's what you're dealing with. The fact that they used that method to contact him, it definitely says what these things are. These things are not good. They're not here for our, enlightenment or to up our consciousness or to help us along the way. They're here to bring in the end times. And how do I know this? Because the entity pretty much says it itself to Chris. The entity has told him that there is a dark force that is bringing about the revelations, the events of revelations, to bring in the end times.
That she is known as Hathor, but that throughout time she's gone by many names. And she said that there is a dark force that is basically scripting end times prophecy through the book of Revelations to try to manifest a cataclysm, to wipe us out, that they're trying to snuff out God, but that there is this evil alien threat, that would be the grand deception, right?
It's interesting that Chris's son Ryan there said the grand deception. The Bible talks about a great deception, so incredibly deceptive that even the elect could be possibly fooled by it, which means even believers might be fooled by this. And what's amazing is how this lines up so amazingly well with the entire Islamic eschatology. Islam does not believe that Jesus is the Son of God. Islam believes that Jesus was a prophet. that he will come back at the end times, that he will assess the Mahdi, the Messiah for the Muslims, and that they will fight the Dajjal together, that Jesus will turn on Christianity and tell everybody that they got him wrong, and that, he has to change everybody's hearts to this Islamic belief, and that they're going to basically force everybody to go to Islam, and that this Dajjal is going to come up and he's going to have the power of Jesus, and that they're all going to fight against this Dajjal. Well, that's exactly the opposite of the Christian end times, where you have an Antichrist who's going to be the Mahdi, who has a false prophet who's going to be the false Jesus, who then fights against Jesus when he comes back, who is their Dajjal, the actual Jesus. The whole world is going to be deceived into fighting the real Jesus when he comes back. I mean, it's going to be probably the shortest battle in history, because Jesus said that, with the word from his mouth, everybody's going to be destroyed. It's not the Jesus of love and peace and, sweetness that a lot of people try to make him out to be. He's going to come back not very happy and upset, because the Antichrist is going to essentially turn on the Jews. And when he turns on the Jews, he's going to kill as many as he can. And some of them in Israel are going to flee into the mountains, which will be modern day Petra. And the first thing that he will do, everybody thinks that when Jesus comes back, he's going to come back to the Mount of Olives first. That's not true. He's actually going to come back and save the remnant of the Jews that's still alive, that the Antichrist was unable to kill because they made it to the mountains. Then he's going to set foot on the Mount of Olives. And it's just very sad that the whole world is going to be fooled into supporting the wrong guy, because the guy that they're supporting looks like the original guy. So what we're going to end up having is we're going to end up having this Mary figurine, this Mary figure, appear to the world and tell everybody that, we're going to prop up this particular leader. Now, I don't know if he's going to be human or if he's going to be a hybrid, so half human, half angelic, or if he's going to, be a created being or human entirely. I just don't know. But that eventually he'll be fully possessed by the powers of Satan, or Satan himself. And at that point, that's when things go very, very bad. He declares himself God in the temple of God, which, to do that, you would have to have a rebuilt temple, right? Well, we're right on the cusp of that. We have these red heifers that are required for the temple to be rebuilt. And guess what? We have red heifers ready to go for the first time in thousands of years. The timing is just amazing, right? So in this video, I mainly went into who is Chris Bledsoe and why is he important. I believe he's important because I think he's like a Moses-like figure for the Antichrist. I don't think he realizes that, but I think he's helping to bring in the imposters that are going to fool the world into making them think that they're the real deal. Who is taking him seriously is something I covered. Didn't completely go into where has Chris been featured. I'll go into that later. Went a little into Hathor and a little into Fatima, Zaytun, which were two appearances of Mary, and how that ties in. My next video, I think what I'll do is give you my rundown of what I think may happen and how this might play out. But for now, I appreciate you listening to this video. This is my second video. I'm not really great at this. This is all new to me. So I'm usually just somebody that likes to make music. But thank you again for listening, and God bless.